Good luck, everybody.
Good
Good
luck.
luck, folks. Cheers.
Good luck. Have fun, everybody.
Heyo peeps, welcome to NASRS Week 2 at Barcelona. This was an awesome race for me, so let's go green. And we are underway. NASRS Week 2 once again with the rookies here. Hopefully we can stay a little bit clean, but I am 3 wide, stuck in the middle, almost get the overlap clear on the left, but I don't quite get the opportunity. Now I'm stuck, sandwiched in the middle, and it closes, the gap closes on me, and we have tons of contact. Absolutely checked Duvier off. Unfortunately, definitely feel bad about that, but he did not leave us enough room on the outside, on the inside. He didn't go far enough outside, and there just wasn't anywhere for me to go. Held it as tight as I could, and luckily for me, I guess, I'm in a pretty decent position. Churchill pulled through, but surely there was tons of chaos in that start, and I was absolutely the original source of it. Taking a quick look back, you can see how bunched up we are at the front, but I just wasn't comfortable moving across to cut off the other Lexus on my outside, and sure enough, that gap just closes and there's contact everywhere. Oh, and there it just continues. One more look. I believe this is Roosh. Dives in, very confident, but it just gets even more congested on this turn 1. Contact, not a lot of places to go. He tries to squeeze left, but unfortunately there's more contact and it just swings people wide, and he eventually gets chucked into the outside barrier. Really unfortunate there. I guess sometimes maybe I wish I had gotten a little bit worse of a launch, because with all that speed I had, I just couldn't resist going up the inside. I definitely think it could have worked, but I guess it's kind of what I get for trying something like that in the rookies race. Anyway, hopefully I'm forgiven for my transgressions, and let's go ahead and hop into this actual race. Getting through lap 1 here, trying to catch up to Churchill. Botello up there in position 2, mighty quick driver, and then the experienced owner of the lead, Davin, P1. They're going to be battling quite a bit together, and I know that, so I want to make up this gap I've got forming as quickly as possible. If I can get a little bit of connection, maybe I can stick with them, but on an average, their paces are definitely better than mine. One thing I've got going for me is I genuinely am able to pick up a little bit of pace over the course of a long race. Jumping ahead now, 3 laps down, and we are gaining just a bit on Churchill. Pretty good run through turn 1. Turn 2 looking okay, making sure to set up for this long right-hander. Power down pretty early, and we're looking decent on this run out. That gap closes just a little bit thanks to the speed of the Lexus from 0.5 to 0.3 before the braking point. Hugging tight. Get a pretty short line through. Make sure we nail our braking point. Close up a ton of space. You can see in the top right corner. The overtake cam, as we are able to swing it around the outside thanks to a little bit of a mistake by Churchill, and just barely get the overlap clear and squeeze by, not running too far wide past the edges of the track, so no harm done, no outside of track penalties, thank goodness, and we have made it through. Didn't take too long. Now we've got eyes forward on Botello and Sturdivant. But with a 3.7 second gap already formed, I'm going to have an awfully tough time catching up. And unfortunately, as we're going to see here, not quite going to be able to hold the consistency or the pace. But we will definitely give it our all as Churchill tries to put a little bit of pressure back on. But it looks like not a great exit, and we will have a really good run on this home straight. And since he does not, looks like that gap is just going to continue to open up. Decent start, pretty happy about that, but in my haste, as we'll go ahead and see here, I'm having a hard time convincing myself to not overdrive the car in this circumstance. The gap has continued to open up, and with mistakes like this, as we go incredibly deep into the hairpin and even get ourselves a track limits warning, not boding well in terms of making up that gap. We will notice I do pick up a couple of track limit warnings even on this. So I definitely need to rein myself back in sometimes when I'm pushing too hard to get my times down. And sure enough, if you look, I was about 8/10 slower on that lap. Jumping ahead again, 11 laps down. Gap hasn't changed too much, which is kind of a positive sight, that's for sure. But at the same time, it's not closing either. Just a bit of a carrot on a stick right there. And it's really getting me to amp up, try and put in some fast lap times, but running a little wide of the curb here. Getting a lot of slide under the power. And not doing myself any favors at the moment. But it is a long race. You never know if some opportunities will arise. And we'll just have to stick with it and see how the laps go. Running mid to low 146s for the most part. Thing to keep an eye on that we missed is Landry behind us, one of the experienced drivers, I believe, from the Tuesday race, is lapping 45s right now. Really quick driver. As he catches up to me quite swiftly, you can see he is, in fact, within striking range now. Definitely due to some of my own mistakes, as the gap to Botello has grown to about 7 seconds. But at this point, I'm noticing a lot of slide, and I'm just not keeping myself under control. So, looking back, as you can see at that slide as well, I decided it's a pretty good time to come in for my pit stop, get some fresh tires, and hopefully get a fresh mindset as well, because I'm going to need a bit of a reset in order to get my laps back under control. Most of the other drivers staying out at this point. We're just a little bit early. Halfway point for the race is around 32:30. Not around, it is. We're running 65 minutes. We come back out ahead of more. Cold tires at this point. Nothing too terrifying, but definitely got to be a little bit careful to hopefully not slow both of us down by opening up myself to attacks from more. And we will go ahead and get back underway. I will say, I did come to appreciate Barcelona. Quite an enjoyable track. Couple turns that were really technical, and I learned a lot, especially from the main hairpin near the third sector of the track. But another learning point for myself was this upcoming left-hander, making sure you had proper speed moderation going through it, because otherwise you would overshoot wide to the right. Really encourage you to have a little bit more momentum than you're supposed to on the entry to that corner. Had to wrangle yourself in. This next hairpin as well, as we do skip by it, but I want to point out that I noticed the slower you drove through it, the faster your times were, so it kind of taught me a lot about how to approach a hairpin. We have now caught back up to Moore, who was behind us as we exited the pit. He seems to give us a lift, let us by going down the straight. Hopefully picks up a little bit of tow behind us in return. Much appreciated there. And for the most part, this race isn't going to have too much other combat. However, it does seem to be some Mortal Kombat between the drivers ahead as Frasha goes off, potentially due to the actions of Roosh. So we now have a vengeance mission for Frasha. See if we can go ahead and track down Roosh. Driver that we were worried about quite a bit at Silverstone. We seem to have a little bit more pace and familiarity with this track after all the practice we put in. A little bit of slide there, but he took a really tight entry. He's going to go super wide on the exit, probably really late to put down the power, and we've got the run. Just going to hold it on the inside. Looks like he might have either lifted or braked early to let us go by. we have hopefully avenged Frasha. Maybe it's not good enough for him, but we'll take it as a win. Moving up through the field of lapped cars. Would love to be able to catch up to Botello, but we've got to make it through traffic, and either way, this definitely makes the race a lot more interesting. Bearing down on Felton here.
Car on the left. Clear on the
I
left.
don't think that was fully just the top speed of the Lexus. Looks like he let us by a little bit, and we continue to make moves. We are now 10 seconds behind the leaders. Able to cut that gap down a little bit because I happen to be quite aggressive when going for overtakes. But definitely not really an obtainable gap with only 8 minutes left on the clock at this point. We've skipped a ton of the race because there really wasn't a lot to see. Was pretty happy with my times overall.
Clear on the right.
Another good exit. Able to make the overtake on Hayes without really looking like either of us had the lift. We're pretty efficient there, and as you can see, the times continue to drop. I do believe this was actually after the point when Botello took a penalty, unfortunately, so in terms of the rookies in the race, that does place us into #1 position. But Botello and Sturdivant were running similar times, so if we aren't passing Sturdivant, we know Botello would have beaten us. But here we have Javahari. I'm going to attempt that name. Putting some pressure on him. You can see the overtake cam again as, oh my gosh, not a planned overtake. We go wide around the outside left. He holds tight on the inside line, and we swing around. That move I expected to do on the straight, not on the corner, but we managed to make it out alive, so I will take it. Definitely another exciting part of the race, and you can see just how close we got here. Swinging around the outside, and mwah, just kiss that back rear bumper as we swing on by. Give him a little slap on the rear, and we get moving again. Definitely made for an interesting end. Pushed really hard to catch this pack ahead, but weren't quite able to, and we will swing through, finishing the race P3. Pretty dang happy with that result overall. Relatively consistent on my lap times from what I remember in the 46s, which I am quite happy with. Definitely a lot of room to grow. You can go ahead and take a look here at another view of that starting chaos. Go ahead and admire how the seeds part here, but yeah, super exciting race. Once again, very happy with how my results worked out, considering all the work I put in the house of practice. Got some good help from some of the coaches. Definitely a super enjoyable race once again. Thanks for watching. Please drop any input down below and check in again next week for another race. Adios, peeps.